So let's continue. In the previous video, we worked through step 1 all the way to step 10. Now, in this video, we are going to be looking at steps 11 to steps 20. All right, so let's get started. It's time to add some color to the marker. Remember that one way to add color to an element is to use a color keyword like black, cyan, or yellow. Okay. As a reminder, here is how to target the class FreeCodeCamp. Okay, so if you want to target a class, the way you do that is to use the dots here. You put a dot before the name of the class. Okay, you bring your curly braces and then you write whatever styles you want to add. So in this case, we want to create a new CSS rule and we want to target the class marker and set the background color property to red. Okay, so as you can see, we have this div here, and this div has a class with a value of marker. So that's what we want to target. Okay, so for us to do that, we write dot and then the name of the class, in this case marker, and then we say background color. Okay, we say red. Okay, but as you can see on our page, we don't see any red. Now the reason why this is so is because red is being applied all right, but we haven't added any height to our color here, so that our marker here, so our div here with the class of marker now has a height of 0. That's why we cannot see the red background color that we've added. So let's move on to the next one where we work on that. Okay, the background color was applied like I said earlier, but since the marker div element has no content in it, it doesn't have any height by default. Okay, in your marker, in your .marker CSS rule, set the height property to 25 pixels and the width property to 200. So the way we do that is to say height, and we want to set it to 25 pixels, and want to set the width, okay, to 200 pixels. Okay, so now as you can see, we have our div here with a height of 200 and a width of, with a height of 25 pixels and a width of 200 pixels. Okay. Your marker would look better if it was centered on the page. Once again, this is what we are building. Okay, so we have all of our markers centered on the page. So let's work on that. All right, an easy way to do that is with the margin shorthand. Okay, in the last project, you set the margin area of elements separately with properties like margin top and margin left, margin bottom, margin top, and what have you. The margin shorthand makes it easy to set multiple margin areas at the same time. To center your marker on the page, set its margin property to auto. Okay, so we just say margin and we set it to auto like so. All right, now what this means is that margin top is auto, margin bottom is auto, margin left and margin right are all auto. So there's no need to write them one by one. We just have to write it once, margin, and then whatever value we give the margin property is applied to all 4 of them. All right, so now doing that centers our red marker here. Great. Next up, we've got one marker centered with color. It's time to add the other markers. Okay, so in the container div, we want to add 2 more div elements and give them each a class of marker. So as you can see, we have 3 markers. So we just want to duplicate this here. Okay, and here. All right, so now it looks like we have just one giant marker, but actually it's just 3, only that there is no space in between them. That's why you see them as 1, but it's actually 3 markers, as you can see from our HTML here. Okay, so like I said, we have 3 separate marker div elements, but they look like one big rectangle. So we want to add some space to make it easier to see each element. So the way we can do that is to use the margin property and set the margin top and margin bottom to the first value, and margin left and margin right to the second value. Okay, so what this means is, let's do this. So we can have margin top, okay? We have margin top, margin bottom, okay? And then we have margin left, and then we have margin right. So in CSS, when you write just margin and you give it just one value, what CSS does is that it takes that one value and apply it to all 4 of these, okay? But when you give it 2 values, okay, what CSS does is that, let's say you give it 2 values, so first value, second value. What CSS does is that it takes the first value and apply it to the top and bottom, so margin top and bottom, and then takes the second value and apply it to margin left and margin right, okay? All right, so in this case, what we want to do is, in the dot marker CSS rule, set the margin property to 10px and auto. So the first value in this case will be 10 pixels, which means 10 pixels will be applied to margin top and margin bottom, okay? And then the second value will be auto, so auto, okay? So now, as you can see, 10 pixels is applied to margin top and bottom. That's why we see these spaces between them. And then because we have margin left auto and margin right auto, all 3 markers are centered, okay? All right. Now, to give the markers different colors, you will need to add a unique class to each one, okay? Multiple classes can be added to an element by listing them in the CSS class attributes and separating them with a space, okay? So for example, you can have a div element, and that div element can have 2 classes, even more classes. So this one has 2 classes. The first class is animal and the second class is dog, right? So for example, in our project that we are building, we have these classes and all of them has a marker class, okay? But then we want to make it such that each one has its own unique color. So the way we can do it is to add an extra class to each one of them, okay? So to begin, add the class 1 to the first one. So you can add 1 to this, okay? Just so that, for example, if you have a marker and you have some, they all have the same styles. In this case, they all have the same length, the same height, the same width. We have a class for them, which is marker. So we use marker to style them with the styles that they have in common. And then we use the unique classes that we'll be adding to give them each their unique styles. In this case, the colors, okay? So let's continue. As we do it, it will become clearer. Okay, so next, remove the background color property and its value from the marker CSS rule. So remove the background color property. Now it looks as if we don't have any markers. They are there, but just that the default color is white and the background is also white. That's why we cannot see it. Okay. So we want to create a new CSS rule that targets the class 1, and set its background property to red. Okay. So in our HTML, now we have this class, this div, which has a class of marker. So it is taking all the styles of marker here, is being applied to it. But we want to also add an extra unique styles to it. So in this case, one. So we write dot and one, we bring our curly braces, and then we say background color, and we set it to red. Okay, so now as you can see, it has a background color. The two are still here, like I said before, but their default color is white. That's why we cannot see it. Okay, so add the class 2 to the second marker and 3 to the second marker. Okay, we just say 2 like so, and 3 like so. All right, so we want to create a CSS rule that targets just the class 2. So this div here, the middle one. So we just write dot and then 2. Then we say background color. Okay, and then we say green. Okay, then we target 3 dots, the name of the class, in this case 3. We say background color and we set it to blue. Okay, so now we are making progress. So we have our red marker, our green marker, and our blue marker. It's not yet the same like we have it here, but we are still working on it. We will get there. All right, so this is where we will end for this video, and in the next one we will continue building and styling our 3 markers. All right, so thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. So I will see you in the next one.